The belly of despair, a descent into darkness. What happened to Jonah after a giant fish swallowed him? This question echoes through time. Jonah, the prophet who ran away, he ran from God's call. He looked for safety on a ship, but the sea got very angry, a storm like no one had ever seen. He knew why. He offered himself to the waves. Then, darkness. A giant monster came up from the deep. It swallowed him whole. Inside the big fish, it was completely dark. It was a living, breathing jail. The air was thick, heavy with the bad smell of the ocean. And something else. The smell of rotting things nearby. Water splashed around him, cold, sticky. He could hear the creature groaning, the rush of water as it moved. Every sound made him more scared. He was trapped, totally, terribly trapped. A place no man should ever see, a living tomb. Jonah felt a cold fear. He was so confused, everything was a blur. A prayer from the deep, the echo of repentance. In that choking darkness, something stirred, deeper than fear, deeper than hopelessness. A memory, a flash of faith. Jonah remembered his God, the God of Abraham, the God of Israel, the God he tried to run away from. Would God hear him there? From the belly of Sheol, he wondered. A desperate thought took root, a prayer. Maybe the only way he had left. He had nothing left but words and a broken spirit. His prayer wasn't fancy, it was raw, a cry torn from his soul. From the belly of Sheol he cried out, he confessed his sin, his foolish escape from the Almighty. He recognized God's huge power, the power that threw him into the deepest part. Tears welled up in his eyes. They mixed with the cold, salty water. His heart hurt with a deep sadness. He cried for his life. He cried for his lost connection. 3 days of trial, the dawn of deliverance. Time lost all meaning in the darkness. Was it hours? Was it days? The Bible tells us 3 days, 3 nights, an eternity hanging between life and death. Jonah waited. He prayed. He struggled with his thoughts. The silence from above was deafening. Every moment tested his fragile faith, his determination. Would God remember him? Would his prayer pierce the ocean's veil? All he could do was trust and hold on. But God had heard, even from the deepest pit, even from the belly of a great fish. No prayer is lost to him. His attention turned to his lost prophet. He saw the true repentance, the broken heart, the renewed commitment. A plan for deliverance was already in motion. The creator of the seas gave an order to his creation. The fish was now an instrument of God's will, not just a prison, but a transport. Then a change, a powerful change in the creature's movement. The fish began to rise. He was lying on the sand. The sun warmed his cold skin. The sound of gentle waves took the place of the ocean's roar. He was tired, confused, but for sure he was alive. What happened had left its mark on him, but it had also made him clean inside. He knew without a doubt that God had stepped in. God had saved him. This wasn't just by chance. It was God's power, a rescue from God. It was a very kind act of mercy. Then the voice came, the Lord's voice, clear and easy to recognize, just like it was before. Get up, go to Nineveh, that big city, the same command, the same job. His suffering in the fish hadn't erased it. Maybe it had gotten him ready for it. This time, he wasn't going to run away. No boat to Tarshish. He had learned his lesson. Jonah finally got to Nineveh. It was a huge city, so big, full of life, a place of power and, like God had said, full of bad things. Everyone knew about it. He walked through its streets, all by himself, a stranger with a terrible message. He didn't hesitate. He started to share the message God had given him. His voice, maybe scratchy from everything he'd been through, sounded powerful. The power of someone who had seen the deep. His message was serious, straight to the point, firm. In 40 days, Nineveh will be destroyed. He shouted it in the squares, in the markets, in front of the big buildings. The words hung in the air, a terrible prediction, a last warning. People stopped. They listened. There was something in his voice, something in his eyes. You could tell he was telling the truth. God saw what they did. He saw they were truly sorry. He saw they had turned away from their bad ways. His heart, always ready to show mercy, was touched. The harsh punishment he had planned was called off. His kindness won over his anger. He chose to forgive. He chose to save the great city of Nineveh. The disaster that was about to happen was stopped. A wave of relief, not spoken but you could feel it, went through the city. Nineveh was saved, not because they were strong, not because they were wise, but because of God's mercy that has no end. The threat of being destroyed faded away like morning fog in the sun. What God is like was shown. He is slow to get angry, full of love, ready to forgive those who truly turn back to Him. The people of Nineveh saw this kindness for themselves. They were given a fresh start, a chance to live a different way. But Jonah the prophet saw God's kindness, and he was not happy. In fact, he got very angry, terribly angry. Jonah went out of the city. He sat down to the east of it. He made a shelter for himself, and he waited. Maybe he was still waiting for it to be destroyed. He was still stewing over his hurt pride. God, being very wise and patient, decided to teach Jonah another lesson. He made a leafy plant grow, a gourd plant. It grew very quickly and gave Jonah shade for his head. It helped him feel better from the hot sun. It was a small act of kindness. Jonah was very happy about the plant. It was a little bit of comfort for how upset he was. He enjoyed its shade. It made it easier for him to wait. But the next day at sunrise, God sent a worm. The worm ate the plant, and the plant dried up and died. Then God sent a very hot wind from the east. The sun beat down on Jonah's head. He felt very weak. He wanted to die. He said, "It would be better for me to die than to live." God spoke to Jonah. He spoke gently. "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?" Jonah answered, "Yes, I'm so angry I want to die." Then God taught him his important lesson. "You cared about this plant," He said, "but you didn't care about the city of Nineveh, where there are more than 120,000 people who don't know their right hand from their left, and also many animals." Jonah finally understood how great God's kindness was. Through his journey, he learned about faith and forgiveness. And so, Jonah found a new reason for living, guided by God's mercy and love. A lesson for all time about faith and forgiveness.